Welcome to another presentation of Under the Microscope. Today, I want us to take a closer look at the 2022 midterm elections, the aftermath. The aftermath. This is usually the time when we refocus and assess our, quote, wins and losses. At this point, I think that it's safe and accurate to say that the biggest losers are those deadheads who did not bother to register and vote. Or they will give you a bogus bunch of excuses for their stupidity, but I learned a long time ago that excuses are the tools with which we build monuments of nothing. There is no rationale for neglecting one of the most precious rights that is stained indelibly with the blood of so many of a variety of ethnicities in this country. That same precious blood helped to shape, nurture, and sustain our country, imperfect though it may be, and it would take a complete idiot to ignore that. I hear all of the sorry sobbing about how our country has shortchanged, belittled, oppressed, and yes, even murdered so many with impunity. As true as those charges are, why would anyone in their right mind volunteer to shortchange, belittle, oppress, and murder themselves? In other words, why would anyone in their right mind volunteer to be a slave and then complain about being treated like a slave? I have long adopted the stand that shouts out loud, if you don't vote, shut up. I even have that slogan printed on a t-shirt, which I proudly wear, especially during election times, to the irritation of some because it reminds them of what losers they are. There is so much that needs to change in our country, but those changes are not going to happen as long as so many of us are willing to sit idle, depending on the crumbs that are thrown our way while the rest of the world moves on, even snickering while granting the feeble wishes of the weak and stupid who don't mind being ignored. This 2022 midterm election surely brought out the best and the worst that is in us. Many try to focus our attention on the need to strengthen and preserve our democracy upon which the entire world depends. Others, not at all concerned about democracy, used demeaning lies and intimidating scare tactics to cloud the minds of those who really didn't seem to have a mind at all. For instance, in the North Carolina Senate race, Ted Budd ran what I call commercials that slammed Justice Sherry Beasley. Sworn public servants, Black, white, Democrats, Republicans, and independents testified publicly that such statements that Ted was making were lies, but those testimonies were not enough to stop the lies from being told. It was said that some of the media refused to air them. No doubt, in such cases, ignorant bigotry was on display for the entire world to see, and there was no shame on the part of the people who were telling the lies. Whether you agree with me or not, there are four major political factions operating in our country. There are Democrats and Republicans who genuinely love America and want to see the best happen for all citizens. It's not so much that they have different goals for our country. They simply have different ideas about how those goals should be achieved. And love of country over sick and debilitating politics always brings them to the table of reason, and the greater good always prevails. Then there are the Slimocrats, who are slim on guts and brains, who pose as Democrats. The last faction are the repugnants, who are so repugnant that there is no other name for them. They pose as Republicans. In the last midterm election of his second term, we heard President Obama tell the Slimocrats that his name was not on the upcoming ballot, but his policies were. And it would be up to them to convince the American people that those policies were good for America. The repugnants went around the country telling people that the Slimocrats voted with President Obama 95 to 97% of the time, depending upon which repugnant was speaking at the time. And the Slimocrats didn't have the guts or the brains to stand firm and say, yes, we voted with President Obama because these policies are what America needs. Just look at his record, and that record still stands. As a result, many Slimocrats, incumbents and newcomers, lost their bids for office. So here we are with the 2022 midterm election results staring us in the face. What do we do now that the people have spoken? But for whom or for what have they spoken? Did they speak for democracy where justice and love prevail? Or did they speak for hatred, bigotry, and anarchy to rule the land? There is a lot of conversation right now about who's going to control Congress, the Senate, the House. And thank God, the vote that the people have already put before us clearly says that many of them are beginning to think for themselves, and they really want the best for our country. Will the others turn their brains on and follow suit? We shall soon see, because there are still votes to be counted. And those votes are going to reflect where we really are and where we really are trying to go as a real democracy. We shall soon see what the people really believe. Just another Mackian observation. Thank you for listening. Follow me on Facebook at Under the Microscope. You may also follow me on YouTube at Mac McRae. Please subscribe and share. If you wish, you can make a contribution of your choosing by using the QR code on the screen. You may also write to me at Mac McRae, P.O. Box 403, Pineville, North Carolina, 28134. See you next time, and remember, under the microscope, we take a closer look.